Hey guys, this is Those Guys with your host Matt Marrero along with your other host.
Satish Ram. Good evening.
Good evening, everyone. Yes, Late Night Gravity Falls podcast as always, doing the newest episode, episode 8, Blendin's Game. Or is it Blender's Game?
Blendin's Game. What is it? And it's Ender's Game, right? The original sci-fi movie. So Blendin's Game, or Blar's Game, or whatever that guy's name is.
No, I really enjoyed the idea, right? I can understand getting someone's name wrong, but I enjoyed the idea that Dipper Pines of all people sat there and thought, Blar.
And then Mabel, of course, is like, duh, Blar. How can I forget?
Oh my God, that was just, the whole episode was really nice. And it's one of those, we always bring up the idea that it's filler, but it's not. But I would argue this one was not filler at all. If only because if you are someone who follows a lot of, the fans and the fan theories and everything like that, and you're with them, you see a lot of, or you saw a lot of stuff where it was just, Seuss probably knows more than he lets on, which was something in one of the Gravity Falls video games online. It was one of the cryptograms, but still it made us all think like, oh, what does he know? And thinking, Seuss could be the bad guy or a bad guy. But an episode like this, it doesn't put all of them to rest, but it does definitely put some things to rest.
Yeah, I mean, it's weird because, Seuss is such a likable character that you don't want him to be the bad guy.
Right.
It's sometimes you see certain things and it's like, oh, I see this coming, please don't let it be that. Please don't let them be evil. And I like that because for all the twists and turns that Gravity Falls provides, it doesn't pull off the Russo swerve. Where it's
from WWE,
betraying my best friend, and the Russo swerve is what I'm describing as from wrestling, which is the idea that for the sake of doing something unpredictable, something ridiculous is put into a storyline in the sense of and now I'm betraying my best friend of 20 years because I want ice cream, and so doing something like that for the sake of just swerving or just being different is usually not fun.
No.
I know that Russo makes arguments for ratings and stuff like that, but, people will sit back now, story-wise, and really complain. So a turn like Seuss being someone like a major villain or something wouldn't be as fun. Now, I totally believe he knows more than he lets on.
Yes.
This episode, I think, was interesting in terms of Seuss because, just generally, without jumping into it too much, he seemed more coherent, calm, and intelligent, and it was weird for me because I know it was the writing and such, and he still got to say dude a whole bunch of times. But something seemed different about him this episode, and it may have been the fact that because he was hurt, it wasn't jovial Seuss. He was a bit more down to earth. Excuse me.
I think that would be it. And before we continue, I would like to mention, this was our little brief, bumper. And now, if you want to, and now those guys, if you want to call in, right, talk about the episode with us, definitely do that. The number is 718-664-9468. You can call in, talk to us about the episode, and or, by the way, Satish, tell them what else they can do.
Yeah, if you don't want to call in to talk to us, but you just need an alternate way to listen, for whatever reason that may be, your internet not working, or you can't really get on the computer to listen to us, 718-664-9468 is always our call-in number. Will always be our call-in number as long as we're Blog Talk Radio. And you can use that number just to call in and listen to us if needed. Just don't hit the one button and we won't put you on air.
Yep. That is exactly what that is. So, but overall, the thing that I think about Seuss, right, I feel like I'm kind of like Seuss, I guess, he resonates with me. Because the thing is, I feel like a lot of people, and you've seen this, by the way, before, which is really funny, because some people have said to you, Satish, man, I don't like math. And, and of course, and I'll think, well, and I'll give you 20 reasons. And I'll go, no, it's actually because they just saw that you were very hyper and happy and upbeat once.
Mm-hmm.
And to some people, that's annoying. And it's really funny because, some days, I'm a very dynamic person. Some days I'm that way. Some days I'm just filled with, self-loathing and sadness. We all have our ups and downs. We've all gone through some shit. So it's really interesting how, we'll see Seuss as this one-dimensional character that's always not necessarily dumb, but he plays the fool, and I don't say play as if, again, evil plan, or even myself as if I play it up as a fool, but I will make jokes that sometimes people will sit there and go, oh, it's funny, and they'll wonder, does Matt really think that? And then I'll sit there and I'll say, that is sarcasm. I do not believe Ebola is spread through the use of markers.
Right.
Something like that. But I feel like that's kind of how Seuss is. Not too much into that area specifically, but a little bit delving into the, he's fun, he enjoys this, and, and he will, he will do something and it will be funny and we'll all laugh, but it won't necessarily be that he is a simpleton. And I'm not saying that you thought that he was, but, he's probably a lot more, introverted, introspective, and all this stuff more than we think. Because whenever we see him, he's just around the kids, so he can't really be himself. The same thing with Wendy, where she can't really be herself. And you'll see more of herself whenever she's, that was a while ago, though. Now she's kind of more of her. But for a bit there, we kind of saw more of her when she was hanging out with her friends. And then she was like, oh, yeah, the two kids can come along, sure. But usually it was just, oh, Mystery Shack time.
Yeah, I mean, for Seuss, I will admit that, what we have seen of his character has basically made it seem like he is, quote-unquote, a man-child. And I'm okay with that because, look, he really likes laser tag. He generally does enjoy things that are considered more traditionally childish. But, it's one thing to be that way, but also remember the fact that he is the handyman of the Mystery Shack. Through years of experience, he's good at what he does. So
exactly.
There's enough to be said on that matter. But, excuse me. Yeah, when it comes down to Seuss, I think that there's so much to be said in terms of what's happened in the years that makes me wonder as to, I want to know more about him. It's the same thing with Wendy. And we talk about this a lot with the Gravity Falls characters, where there's a lot of attention paid to these characters that makes us invested in them, and then they usually reward us. And this is kind of an episode where some people will credit that type of behavior in terms of the childishness or just the way he is generally to maybe not being raised in a typical household. Because it seems that at the Seuss's grandmother was raising him at least from when he was 12 at the earliest.
Yeah.
And he mentions that at that point, and this was his 12th birthday in the Step Back to the Future, to the past, I'm sorry. So,
it was. That's interesting.
Yeah, Mabel actually makes a one-off comment about it. I rewatched the episode twice. I did not catch it the first time. And I was reading the Wikia, and they were like, 12th birthday. I'm like, how does everyone know it's a 12th birthday? And rewatching it, Mabel actually says, we can have Seuss's dad come here for his 12th birthday. And I was like, that's right. Great.
It's such a strange situation, though, because he looked 8, and everything around him looked like it was
a while ago. I was
confused,
because I looked there, and I'm like, how old is Seuss, actually? But that being so he's 22. That's actually established now. Seuss is 22.
Okay.
And he was 12 in the Flash. So, yeah, he mentions that his dad hasn't been around for 8 years at that point. So Seuss's dad left him when he was 4. Well, last time he saw his father was when he was 4. And there's nothing spoken about his mother, but he's with his grandmother. So he hasn't been raised in a traditional household. And it seems like his grandmother just, not as a bad parent, but just tried to do whatever it was to make him happy.
Yeah. And I understand that as well. When my dad was there for me, my mom and dad would get divorced as well, and I am in fact a man-child as well, so I can kind of see how he would just jump into things like television and video games and movies when you're younger. Yeah, but also my dad was there for me as well. My dad never, left me like he did Seuss, which was very sad, I think, when I sat there and I thought, so is his dad busy with work? And I really wanted to believe that he was busy with work.
I wanted to, too, because the whole, I wanted to sit there and be like, Seuss's dad is the author. He's a traveling researcher. And that's why he can't visit Seuss.
For all we know, it could be that. For all we know, it could.
Yeah, based on Gravity Falls lore, it's not out of the question.
Impossible. No.
to think that, Seuss's dad was a traveling researcher. That being said, because he obviously has shown to have been in a lot of places.
Yeah.
But, it's weird because it implies heavily that he's just not around. But it's weird for me because I got to say, I mean, for a guy who travels that much, it seems interesting that he couldn't come see his son, but took the time to write him a postcard.
That's actually what I thought, and I guess maybe that was a way to make it more clear for the kids or anyone else who isn't us, who will question it, but some people just go, oh, he wrote him a postcard, that's how to show that he isn't, and also not giving him a voice actor, too, because you give him a voice actor that, people will make even more connections, if you will. So, just giving him a postcard is, I guess, just their way of trying to, in a way, silence it. But of course, people like
it's
us,
weird
just
though,
think,
isn't it? Because
think.
I was half joking about the author thing, but I can't discredit it. And at the same time, I also can't. It's weird for me because I feel like if he totally didn't care, he wouldn't send the postcard.
That's me. That's the thing about me that I feel. Where, that's why I said, I guess he's working a little bit of self-denial, but a little bit of, are you sure? Like, if he didn't really care, he wouldn't have, but then again, I mean, I know you've done,
it's confusing, isn't it?
But the thing is, you study sociology.
Yes.
Right? And you've told me how, some people while leaving, some dads, well, even though they've left their sons and daughters, they still care, obviously.
Yeah,
it's not a lack of care.
That's the thing. We can be quick to assume in this episode because of what's put in front of us. I mean, Seuss even implies, as a kid, he's just like, oh, yeah, he's really busy in New Orleans, huh? But it's weird because you put all the clues together and automatically you want to think, yes, Seuss's dad is a deadbeat who doesn't care. But the way that they wrote this, there's space where
of course there is.
There might be a reason he left. You look at things like the Society of the Blind Eye, people are around, and this is obviously a supernatural society, and this has been happening for about 30 years, it's implied. So Seuss's dad, if Seuss is to be 22, which is confirmed, it must have been around.
Yeah. Speaking of the Society of the Blind Eye, by the way, I really wanted to see them this episode, even if it was for 5 seconds, because when Robbie, when the tree exploded, and little Robbie was there and he ran away crying, I just wanted to see just a simple flash of, just a simple red robe.
Just to imply that that's what they were doing. But see, to be fair, that was young Robbie. Young Robbie! But that was young Robbie.
No matter what, though, I mean, he's a kid, but they were going to erase Dipper and Mabel's minds.
But only because they knew everything.
Fair point.
Young Robbie just seeing a tree, they can just be like, that's an overactive imagination. They knew everything, Dipper and Mabel, and they told them the entire plan on the contingency of, like, we're going to delete your minds so we can tell you everything.
Also, something I really thought was hilarious, by the way, the idea that it's just, we must fix the anomalies in time by going back in time.
Mm-hmm.
The second they were destroying things in the 90s, or rather, late mid-2000s, technically.
2002, because I believe Gravity Falls, I don't know where this has been confirmed, but Gravity Falls takes place in the summer of 2012.
Right, so technically it's still 2002. I'm not saying that I'm old or anything, but being a 22-year-old person, for some reason in my mind, 10 years ago will always be the 90s. Mm-hmm. And I'm sure that also has to deal with people who've grown up in the 90s as well, where for them, 10 years ago...
When you made your statement originally, I nodded, because I thought, 10 years ago in the 90s. It wasn't until you pointed it out that I realized 10 years ago was 2004. I should probably realize I'm old.
Right. But anyway, so, it was just really funny, where it's just, let's just troll around and fix time while being back in time. Mm-hmm. No one will notice us. But anywho, getting to because usually we talk about these episodes in some sort of order, So, just going through it a bit, quicker, starting from the beginning, I really enjoyed the opening segment so much. Just everything about it was wonderful.
Yeah, no, I mean, all right, so the sci-fi stuff makes me happy because...
Yes, completely.
And I'll say it in this way. I am not so much of a fan of the genre that I have seen, like, every movie and read every book. So there are references that I'm not going to catch, but I enjoy the genre. So when you present me with that sci-fi stuff, I think it's cool. Where I sit there and I'm like, I am into this.
What I enjoy is that even if you don't know too much about it, still from what you've seen, Satish, obviously, you were able to pick up the idea of this, dystopian society.
Yeah.
Where,
cool.
Yeah, and he's running away, with the hoodie and everything, and it seems very much like a kind of a Fifth Element Blade Runner situation, and all of a sudden it's just you've been caught. What do you want to do? And it's just intergalactic combat, and it's like I love may time, baby, have mercy on their souls.
Yeah, no, it was fun, and then the whole idea of just, well, first off, Lolf and Lundgren still make me laugh, because Dolph Lundgren.
They're great.
But, yeah, okay, the idea that they have in the future, right? Gladiator combat.
Yes.
I think that's cool, because I sat there and thought it was like social commentary. Where it was like, They've advanced so far that they have time travel. And what do they decide to do with it? They have decided that they want gladiator-type combat. I think it's almost like, it's just a mockery of humans will always fight or find a way to fight. Because you give them all the technology in the world, and they have used it to create futuristic gladiator combat.
Yeah, and what's even scarier, I think, is the idea that people can make time wishes that have no effect on time itself. It is a completely paradox-free time wish. Yeah,
that's stated verbatim. Paradox-free time wish.
That is frightening.
As a story device, that scares the crap out of me, dude. I don't know if it's one of those things in cartoons where it's like, we are supposed to not think about this ever again, or it's so powerful that we are going to have to think about it again. Do you get what I mean?
I completely understand. It is completely Deus Ex Machina, if that is the way you pronounce it. But in a fun way. I honestly don't know now that we talk about the idea of commentary and of course references and parodies and stuff like that, where it's just they did this because they wanted us all to laugh in a way. Anyone who really enjoys time travel stuff, where people who are fans of the show and enjoy time travel stuff, it's scary. But when you think about it out of the context of the show, it's hilarious in the sense that it is paradox-free. You won't get screwed over. You can do anything. Kind of like a Doctor Who situation where they're always messing with the timeline. And in this case, it's just, no, you can do anything without any ramifications. But when you get in the show, it becomes frightening because has it been used? Now, I'm assuming it has not in the sense that, I'm assuming it hasn't though, because it only exists in the future. We have not seen any, I'm not saying Bill dies out, but Bill could easily go into some kind of slumber and is unneeded in the future because technology. So I'm sure it hasn't been used before. But, what's scarier to me, honestly, is still the idea of the Society of the Blind Eye and Stan. Or the kids meeting Stan in the past, which I'm happy they didn't, but I was wondering if they were going to.
Yeah, it's just interesting to me. Like, the whole thing scares me because the idea of a time wish, which is more developed as the episode goes along, to be fair. But it is exactly Deus Ex Machina, as you stated, because
that's what it is.
You're right. I just don't know. I don't know what to decide on it because I don't know if it's just this one-off thing where I sit there and think to myself, okay, so this is never going to come up again, or if I should be worried because, and also the whole idea of like you look at it and of course in storyline, right? For a minute, Dipper completely forgets that he has, like, an issue finding the author. He just totally forgot. Like, and I'm not I'm not denying the fact that he would have ended up giving it to Seuss or something like that anyway, but I would have appreciated the idea of him debating over the idea of using this time wish on finding out who the author is.
I agree. However, that's the thing. I don't think he forgot. I think it's the idea that they are so noble. Even, you know, the innocence of a child. They will immediately think of Seuss before anything else. However, you are completely right. The idea of just, you know, of like even one of them, even having it be Mabel, just going, but what about the author? And he goes, you know what? Seuss counts.
Yeah, like I just wanted the debate. I wanted that kind of moment.
The idea.
Because it strikes me that, you know, and also even Seuss doesn't mention it. And it's just weird because I know that it's cartoon scripting and we have to put in like some suspension of disbelief when it comes down to it, right? But it's weird because Seuss immediately is like, hey, yeah, it looks like it's, you had Gladiator, you had Gladiator fights for me, and wow. And just without even thinking, just very quickly, I'm going to heal you guys up and get infinite pizza.
Yes, that is what truly makes this filler. So thank you for proving me wrong. That is what turns this into filler. But still, you know, the things about Seuss, I think, you know, aren't looking too much into it. Whereas the things about Seuss, you could see that, you know, this is where it doesn't become complete filler. But if somebody skips this, I don't think, you know, it would be beneficial for them, especially because it's a Blendin' Blandin' episode, and I'm sure that he will appear again, and I'm sure that the idea of this time wish will appear again in a way that might be, okay, so guys, someone who shouldn't have gotten the wish got it. He's going to destroy all of Earth. We should probably do something.
Yeah, I mean, you know, I also like that they may have quote-unquote cleared up the whole Blendin subplot, where it's like, no matter, you know, Blendin's not happy with them.
Yeah, so he can help them if needed. He could,
right.
You know, he could use their help if needed. And that was a huge issue because for a while it was just, I mean, this guy with never-ending hate for them who, you know, who if you saw from this episode, while he, in theory, could do nothing, in a way could do everything.
Yeah, and it just interests me because now that he's on their side, that could be a huge, huge thing where in story, you know, that's the ally you want.
Yeah. But, so, jumping back into some type of order,
right.
Obviously this doesn't like his birthday, obviously. You know, and of course we learn later on because of his dad.
Name. We got his full name.
Yes, we got his full name. I love that it's long because here's the thing. You know, I don't know how some people feel about it, but I feel like if you are Hispanic, you know, like myself, you see how accurate things are and how it isn't, you know, towing a line, let's say, between, oh, that's racist or oh, it's not. It's kind of like the Steven Universe effect where, oh, dear God, they're showing these people that aren't white. That is huge.
Right.
Me. You know, where you know, as I mentioned earlier, my father and my grandmother were divorced. I'm sorry, my father and my mother were divorced. Therefore, my grandmother raised. Here's the thing, because my grandmother raised me on my mom's side, so it wouldn't have even been as weird as it sounded.
But it made me kind of laugh a little because I was like, you know, I know you're trying to say Hispanic families are different, but you almost just said, yeah, my father and my grandmother were divorced, and I froze.
That's cool.
Because I was like,
that some Caucasian people might not know.
Different.
Some people that my
just
Caucasian
like,
friends and also
am I with Hispanic society?
Also, Yusatish, my Guyanese friend over here. There's some things that you don't know. No, but seriously, you know, my father and my mother were divorced, so my father was not in any way removed from my life completely. And of course, my mother, also being there to raise me, she worked, you know, the simple 9-to-5 job. So my grandmother was the one who raised me for a very long time. So when I sit there and I see Susan, it's just, raised by his grandmother, this, Hispanic, and, and all this stuff. I sit there and I'm like, huh. It isn't in a way like towing any lines or making anything, seem wrong, at least from my experience. I think that's the thing, where it's just nice to show an experience that that I have, but I don't think it's trying to say this is what Hispanics have, this is what happens to Hispanics. Because before we saw, anything of Zeus's family, personally, I thought it was a Zeus kind of thing. And I think I said this on air. I thought it was like Zeus.
Mm-hmm.
Where it's just Zeus. It's like, okay, and, and we're going along with that. Whatever, he's just, he's the heavy handyman with a heart of gold. That's all I saw. And then it's just, oh, no, it's Jesus. And I was like, oh.
Yeah.
And he has his grandma, oh.
I, for a long time, thought, the first episode I saw, I think the first two, I thought his name was Zeus. And I was like, this is fine. And then I was like, oh, Zeus. And I'm like, okay, that's fine. Zeus is still fine, dude. And then when I realized he has an abuelita, I'm like, oh, it's short for Jesus, isn't it? And that's confirmed today, well, not today, earlier in the week. But I like that because, again, it's like you said, oh, my God, they're not, not everybody's white. And that makes sense because even on a cartoon, it's like, yeah, there are going to be Hispanic people in your freaking town. So,
but I want to say something. I like that he looks white, and before anyone goes, well, why do you like that, Matt? I look white. I look Caucasian, and
Matt
many
looks
people
very
are confused.
White. No, I'm just confirming.
What?
Like, Matt looks very white.
Oh, okay. I thought you said not. I was like, dude, you know me.
Matt looks very white.
No, yeah, and I say this only because many people have confused me for Greek, just Caucasian in general, just Italian. This, so much stuff. What did I get? I think I got. I've gotten so many different things because it's just, well, you're not Spanish. I am. Oh. So I enjoy seeing, again, someone like Zeus, where it's just, he doesn't have to be, looking like Mermando just to be Spanish.
Mm-hmm.
Because, of course, there are Mermando.
Talk like him.
Exactly. It's the idea of, hey, look, it is a Zeus. Yes, it is a Zeus. By the way, dude, I like rice and beans, dude. It's like, yeah, me too.
I gotta be honest with you. It's weird for me because I don't want to sound racist, but I feel like they're depicting the Hispanic family pretty well, or at least the minority family, because I understand. The whole being raised by a grandmother who loves them deeply.
Mm-hmm.
Like, this is not an experience that I've gone through, but the grandmother that loves them deeply and just says things like "you're my precious" and just goes out of their way for them, and the family that's there, and being raised by your cousins like siblings, because that's something I've gone through, where you look at, like, obviously his female cousins are like, hey, Zeus, we love you, and then Reggie, when later on when his dad's not there, he's just like, it's all right, man, we'll get him next year, and that kind of stuff. And I like that, because I know that I think that's a big family dynamic thing, at least for immigrant families. I'm not going to say it's not for anyone else. And
you're not going to say that it's all immigrant families, obviously, but then again,
of course.
Although I will say, being a minority yourself, it does help your case a bit to say something about minorities. Not all minorities, but the idea that, I would like everyone to know, we are minorities. Not saying that we're the Word of God now. Not saying that we're the Word of God now, but I want to put it out there that it isn't two white guys just sitting here just going, so this is how the Hispanics are.
Yeah, no, and so I like the depiction of the family. I really do. It resonates with me as relatable and realistic. And I think most of the characters resonate that way with me, which is good.
Yeah.
Because, excuse me, and I like the little things that they do with these characters that make me appreciate them more. Because, and I'll give you two things in this episode early on that made me happy. First off, when Zeus opens up the vending machine for Dipper and Mabel in the beginning, you can see him putting money into the machine after.
Oh,
because
that's
he's
nice.
Paying for the stuff that he just gave them.
Yes, he just had to. Something I would do. I'm getting this for you because of the idea that it's not putting out. But once I close the machine up, I will put in cash because.
Yeah, no, and
that's
he
the right
says
thing
that.
to do.
He puts in the money while he says, I'll do anything for the Pines family, dude.
I
And
noticed
so,
that.
he's implying that, yeah, he's just putting in the money as he gave them the food because it's just like, you're the Pines family. You all gave me. And so that's really nice. And then there's the idea of later on when Stan and Wendy discovered that, they did the birthday thing. Stan says that he tried to get July 13th banned as a day, and that's why he's been, banned from airplanes. And it comes off as a joke. But when you hear it again, you realize that he's serious, that he tried to get a day that upset Seuss banned, because that's how much he cares.
What I really enjoy, too, is the idea that, I think if you first hear it and maybe you're not paying full attention looking at the screen, you hear it as a joke. When you see Stan's mugshot, I think that's when it really hit you. Just, guys, it's not a joke. He legitimately tried to get the day banned.
Which is amazing, I think, in terms of, which feeds the whole idea of Stan is Seuss's father figure.
Oh, that's something that'll always get to me. But, yeah, he really is, and, that's something that I also really enjoy, about this show, whether they're able to do stuff like that. But, so, jumping back, well, we got through, Seuss not liking his birthday, and now we're at, Dipper and Mabel kind of bringing him into the laser tag place, which, by the way, used to be a mattress store, and it's one of my favorite things.
The mattress king has spoken. But yeah.
One of my favorite things, actually, is that it used to be a mattress store, and just the way the writers of this show work, which is a great way of writing. It used to be a mattress store, and that only had to be used as a plot device, not as a one-off joke, but used that way because they would be going into the past just minutes later, and then would be at a mattress store, making you make the connection they went too far.
Yeah, first off, you're like they went too far, and it was implied. And then when Lolf and Dungren came in, they mentioned specifically, looks like they overshot by 10 years. And it's
and you're like, wow. Also, by the way, and this was, I think, one of the... I don't know why I find this the funniest thing in the show thus far, because it definitely isn't, but something about it really makes me feel like it is. Chick deflected. Thank you for buying Gigi-God, the smart codpiece.
That made me laugh a lot. Where I was just like, this is what I mean in terms of giving them technology. They have, interactive, sentient crotch protectors.
Yeah. That's the thing. It's not even like it's just like, oh, it kicked it and it was a barrier. No, you kick it and it speaks.
It's like kick deflected. It didn't even, it knew it was a kick, by the way. If you punched it, it would have known. That made me happy. Where it knew it was a kick.
Yeah. Oh, man. And then Blendon finally appears to the kids, which, or Blarg, whichever you want to say. Blar. And he appears, and just, I don't know if maybe it's been a while since we've heard him, or maybe the voice actor, is using not a different voice per se, but, it's been a while for the voice actor to work on it too, but for the fact that we know, who the voice actor is now. But the second he started speaking, all I could hear is, "Dear God, that's Morty," from Rick and Morty. If you don't know.
I also hear Oscar from Fishhooks. So it's funny because I can hear it very easily now.
Yeah, it's
very,
too
very
much, actually.
Too.
Yeah, it's
where it's like, they're the same people.
It's literally the same person, which is really funny how Rick and Morty loves to deal with interdimensional time travel stuff as well. But, and by the way, if you don't know Rick and Morty, which, by the way, the creator of the show, writer of, so many of the episodes of the show, also did the voices of Rick, Morty, and many others. Just the same way.
But yeah,
yes, and
as Matt is pointing out.
Yes. So, which is why there was that crossover thing, because he and the creator of Gravity Falls, Alex Hirsch, are friends.
Right.
Yes, and also you can see some of that in Alex Hirsch, who also does a lot of different voices in this show as well. But anyway, by the way, just the idea that Robbie plays laser tag, I don't know why I find that funny, because the card in Seuss's wallet still said ages 12 and under.
12 and under, and we thought it was like a Seuss joke, but apparently everybody just...
it's not supposed to. You're not supposed to be in there, but I mean, if you're giving them money, they're just like, I don't know.
I think it's
but
funny.
I love that.
Definitely.
Yeah, but Robbie's there, which is really funny. Where it's like, yeah, Robbie, and apparently Robbie just loves doing that.
Yeah,
Just
he's a dick.
the shot and then running away.
He's a dick.
But yes,
which
he
is exemplified by young Robbie also being a dick.
Young Robbie. Speaking of, you mentioned how Lolth and Dundgren got you. I love the idea that Lolth thought that Mabel not only was his grandma, but that she would actually know about it.
Yeah, I like that they didn't. I laughed so much because I'm like, this is such a Mabel thing to do. And the fact that all she said was Lolfie. And he's just like, Cam? I was like, God fucking damn it. One thing I want to mention, since we're going in order. Okay, so when Blendon first appeared in Season 1, when he was fixing his suit, you saw actually a glimpse into places they would be going in the future in Season 1.
Right.
And so when he fixes his suit in this one, we see 3 places again. One of them looks to be, and some people have taken, courtesy of Reddit, have taken screenshots of this already. But the first one looks to be Pacifica's mansion, and the other one looks to be like a high-security prison or something, which could be the specific prison that Gideon was at or whatever.
Yes.
And the third one looks to be a beach, which is interesting.
I assume that is a filler episode, but we don't know.
But that being said, keep it in mind is all I'm saying, because they use Blendon as a way to like hint at some things. So keep that in mind. But yeah, go ahead.
And he was fixing his suit during the in the White Room.
As soon as the whole this is made of titanium, the only way out is through me. Wait, no, shoot, through me. That scene, it's like that would have worked a lot better the first time.
Yeah, but yes. So by the way, the Lolth thing also made me chuckle because it made me think of it made me think of of Futurama with Fry and his and his great grand nephew. But yeah, it was just really funny where it's just with Fry and Farnsworth, where it's just Mabel's just the grandmother that apparently knows. So anyway, so yes, also, just jumping back to Seuss and his dad, it was just very sad to kind of get that realization and to have his, something a bit lighter though. The idea of, which is something that happens in Hispanic families, more than you think, where the idea that, a family member will make a joke where it's like, Seuss, you're a ladies' man. It's just, Grandma, those are my cousins. Ew. Like, what?
I think that happens to a lot of us as growing up in terms of the grandmothers are like, oh, look at my little, my little grandchild, the ladies' man. And it's like, no, not at all. 12-year-old Seuss is like, do not want.
Yes, do not want.
Not fair.
Right. But yeah, and of course, she also, by the way, apparently that was the birthday that he got the keyboard.
Yeah, which means he's kept that for 10 years. Interesting that they decided to bring that in. Like, certain things I get. Like, for example, when they're opening up not opening up, rather, but when they go to the Mystery Shack, Stan is actually introducing the wax figures. I think that's a nice touch. Because it's like, that makes sense, time-wise. The keyboard thing, I think it's just slightly pushing it for me. Because it's wow.
I think it's one of those things where it's just a prized possession kind of thing, and it wasn't necessarily for children. I would argue that it was very expensive, which goes along with the idea that I will get Seuss anything he wants because I am his grandmother.
Right, and apparently that's all he had. I mean, he had family, it seemed like, but there's no something may have happened to his mother, and his father is not around. So we just don't know what's going on. So that's pretty much all he has, and seems to have had for years. Because the grandfather also wasn't around at this point.
Yes,
and the grandfather is a terrible person.
I'm sorry, what was that?
It's implied that the grandfather is a terrible person because of the joke that the grandmother made when he would be in hell.
Oh, right. Strangely enough, yeah, I can see that as well. Where I'm not saying, he was a terrible person, but yes, he has passed on because, life expectancy and things like that for males where, but yeah, why am I Seuss, by the way? I'm really starting to, not that I really want to connect with this person, but my grandfather on my mother's side, not the best guy.
Mm-hmm.
Where if my grandmother could make that joke, she probably would.
In Spanish, too.
I
Knowing your
am
grandmother.
Seuss. I'm Seuss.
I like your grandmother. You're Seuss.
I do too. I'm really worried I'm gonna wake up tomorrow and I'm just gonna be like, oh, dude. Like when Dexter woke up in the omelette du fromage thing from Dexter's Lab. I feel like I'm going to wake up and just be like, oh, dude.
That's still like one of my favorite episodes, by the way.
Right.
He's just whispering into people, omelette du fromage. Oh my God.
But anyway, so, but as you were mentioning, you mentioned where, the idea that, Dipper should have, or Mabel should have brought up the author, which is true. I agree with that completely. But I just really feel like Dipper and Mabel are the best because their first thing, that they thought of immediately was, any wish can be granted. Where you think the author, you think just in general, can we get Bill murdered or something? Could we just erase him from time? Just nope. Seuss's dad should be there.
Yeah, plot-wise, I get it for the sake of the episode, and the fact that, yes, it's not completely out of character for them to love Seuss, that they will think of him immediately, but it just irked me that there wasn't at least some kind of throwaway line about it.
We always bring this up, I think. Well, actually, no. You aren't usually here for these podcasts, but usually Anthony and I, when we talk about things like Gotham or Flash, or we haven't gotten to Arrow this season just yet, but we get into it soon. The idea that it's just one throwaway line can save almost anything in an episode.
Yes, I agree, because it can turn, it's like, okay, and we talk about this in wrestling a lot, and sorry to try to alienate our crowd here, but good commentary for a match or for a situation can change your entire view of the whole thing. Because they have a chance to say one or two things. Oh, he did that because his leg was hurt last night. Or, oh, you know what? Years ago, this is like, things like that. That'll be throwaway lines, one or two lines. We'll be like, God damn it, now this makes sense. Or, wow, this is so much cooler now because we know X. So take those things into consideration, where I totally agree with that logic. And so throwaway lines mean a lot to me. The little things show the attention to detail that Gravity Falls usually does, and
of course there was a lot of detail in this episode itself. The fact that when they went back into the past, just your dream will go nowhere, Toby. Aww.
Not even that, but okay. So there was a lot of stuff in
Wendy was the cutest thing in the world.
Yeah, that was okay. That was, first off, Tambry's T-shirt was of a telephone, which made me laugh so hard.
Yes.
Because I thought that was smooth. But, okay, how did you feel about that Tambry Wendy Dipper thing?
I think it's something, there are, and I think you'll understand this, there are many relationships that people may have gotten into, and I'm referring to a relationship between, like a boyfriend-girlfriend type situation, right? There are many relationships you might have gotten into, and they didn't work out, and they may not even happen, and it was only based on one thing, and the word is time.
Yeah, timing.
Just timing. That's all it is. Timing, where ages. It could be so many different things. Where it could be, boy likes boy. One boy definitely doesn't like the other boy, because he would never like the other boy. Why would he ever like a boy? Just is hiding the idea that he's gay for years. That right there, just that one little situation that you threw out right there. But had it been years later, boy meets boy, boy likes boy, other boy totally likes boy as well. They start dating. You know what I mean? Just little things regarding time. So I'm not saying that Dipper and Wendy will ever be a thing. But it's the idea that it's not like Dipper is repulsive in any way. It's just, she is 16 years old, and he's 12, not even 14. He's 12 years old. So it's just, yeah. But that's a 4-year difference. That, hey, one day that might not matter, or had it been, 24 and 20, wouldn't have mattered.
Okay, see, you interpreted it differently than me, and I'm glad.
Okay.
Because I wanted to ask you because I didn't know how to take it. Because the scene left a weird taste in my mouth because of Mabel's comment, where it was like, that's how she thinks of you, creep. And I was like, are they trying to make it seem like Dipper's stupid for liking Wendy? Because it didn't strike me as a Hirsch thing to do, where I sat there and I was like, I'm interpreting this wrong. I don't think I'm getting like the right vibe from this situation. And the way you described it, the whole idea that I'm sorry to cut you off, but the whole idea that the relationship could have worked had timing been different, I like that idea. And, reinforcing the Dipper isn't repulsive. I like that idea a lot more than thinking that they're trying to make some kind of joke on people who thought Dipper and Wendy should be a pairing.
No, I think they were making a joke on the idea that Mabel, you know how Mabel can be, where she can be a jerk. And I think she was just, where it was just, and of course, had that situation happened to, even though Hirsch didn't write this episode, I believe. Did he? I believe he didn't.
No, I think he just directed it.
Okay. Had Hirsch and his sister been in the same exact situation, I feel like as a sibling, his sister would have said the exact same thing to him. And I think that's more of a, both of us growing up as only children. Now I have 2 younger brothers who I love, but at the time, growing up, though, I was an only child for the most part up until about, 8 years old, which is a while to be, to grow up as just the one child. So we don't really have these kind of siblings, whatever thing. Like now I know you have so many friends and you have cousins that you are your siblings. So now I think you can get it. But growing up in that way, having that person to just, punch in the arm or whatever, I don't think you and I have that, I would argue.
This is a good point.
Okay, so for them, it's just, okay, you're kind of too young. That's what she thinks of you, creepoid. Because, mind you, in this exact situation, a 6-year-old looked at a 12-year-old and was just like, he's cute.
Yeah,
and it's like,
that also was weird for me, where I was like, mathematically, that's 6-year-old Wendy. What are we trying to prove here, people?
Oh, actually, something very interesting. I forgot how this came up, but there was something about I think it might have been a Cracked article or something like that, where it was just about dads realizing things about women when they have daughters. Yeah. And it was about a dad talking about his 3-4-year-old daughter, right? Who you're sitting there, you're like 3-4 years old, you are very young, you are young. Or
right.
I think she might have been 4 or 5 actually. And she ended up, and he was with his wife, or I think he was just eating with her, or her and wife, and there was this waiter. And he was just, and he was like, so my daughter was staring at this waiter as if she wanted to take him home. Mind you, he was very good looking, but I was frightened. And that's the thing, where it was just like, you don't realize things about kids until you actually do research, where, you think, like, I'm not saying, so what I'm saying, basically, is that, think about when you were 6 and you saw, let's say, certain TV characters who were female and who were very attractive, and you just thought, oh.
I also think what's worth mentioning is that, now, because you and I are in our 20s, we can sit here and think, well, we think someone's cute. It's an automatic relation to, like, sexual attraction. Where you can think someone is cute and not, you can just identify, like, that is an attractive-looking human being, but not have any thoughts like, and I want to bed them. Because, so she can just sit there and be like, that person looks nice. And that's totally fine.
And could mean it as a date because of the way the media, puts out there the idea of date this person. But, of course, as you mentioned, not bed the person,
Right.
But because you saw how embarrassed she was, where she was just like, whisper. My friend thinks they're cute. Cameron, God.
It also may imply that Wendy does think Dipper is cute, but just doesn't think that the age thing can work out. Which, I'm making a lot out of this moment, but it's like it was written in for a reason. So.
Oh, yeah. It was written in, I think, to kind of, I mean, I'm not going to say it was written to give any hope of any kind, because, I don't think it should be given any hope of any kind unless there was, a movie that was also a time skip, Because, I mean, yeah, this relationship could definitely work in the future.
Yeah, it's like the Harry Potter Ginny Weasley thing. Where as they get older, it makes a lot more sense.
Right.
Are you a Harry Potter fan?
Yes. Enough that,
okay,
yes, I understood what you just meant.
You're aware,
yes.
Yeah.
But also something really interesting, now that we're getting back into, some of the stuff that happened in the episode, when the screwdriver kind of just fell there in Seuss's lawn, something in my head went, was Stan missing a screwdriver once at one point? In my head, I don't know why. I was like, was he ever missing one? Did he? And then no, he never missed one. Actually, it was returned by Seuss. I loved the idea that even though they didn't do things, okay, yes, they did two things that in a way changed time forever, but they weren't the things that I thought were going to happen. Where it's just, oops, we accidentally killed that guy. You know what I mean? Like funny, but still, you know what I mean? Like I thought. So I liked that the first thing was just, we just taught a kid how to open a thing, like Seuss taught us. Hell.
Yeah, it was interesting to me because that's sort of this weird, that's a weird paradox, because...
It's a wonderful paradox.
Because it's the idea that, I think it's the shoelace or the bootstrap paradox or something, there's a name for it. But essentially because Seuss taught Mabel how to do that. And Seuss, at the time, said that it was taught to him by some kind of genius. And when Mabel teaches it to him, he says, oh, you must be some kind of genius. Which implies that when Seuss taught it to Mabel, he learned it from Mabel, but Mabel didn't know it at the time, even though she was the one that taught it to him. And it's just this little, don't think about it too much, Satish, you'll break.
Well, no. Well, here's the thing. It works completely, though, because the idea... Okay, I know it sounds crazy, but it's a loop. It is a complete loop.
It is a loop,
but it still
works.
But no, but it still works, though. Because it's the idea that, yes, Mabel didn't know it in the quote-unquote present when Seuss taught it to her. Because she went back, she then taught it to a younger Seuss who then is able to know it for 10 years. To then teach it to that Mabel. I know how crazy it sounds, but that is a simple explanation. It gets weirder, I think, when you start involving grandfathers and becoming your own grandfather.
Yeah,
and, that's
it's
where I
a
think
paradox.
it gets...
It is most definitely a paradox, Matt. Because Mabel taught Seuss the thing that Seuss taught Mabel in the future.
But again, it's a lot easier, I think, to comprehend than I think you either saw it or I told you about the Doctor Who one, where this one I think was even crazier, where he met a younger version of himself, but of course looked older because the actor looked older at the time.
Yeah.
And they were both, one of them forgot to put the shields up, so the TARDISes crashed, became one, technically, and it was called Time Crash. And he was trying to fix the TARDIS, and it was just like, oh darn, how do I do this? And then the one who was younger was just like, wait a minute, I remember how. And he goes, yeah, you're getting it. He goes, I remember seeing you doing it, which means that when I get older, I become you doing it. So in other words, yes, that one is crazy, where it's just the doctor, the older doctor knows how to do it, because when he was the younger doctor, he saw the older doctor doing that.
I know.
He remembers. That one I think is crazier, and I don't want to say worse, but just more nutso than Mabel taught it to Seuss, who then taught it to Mabel. That just seems to wrap up rather nicely. The one thing that I think is completely fucking nutso is the idea that they left the screwdriver that caused Seuss to get the job. That is mind-blowing.
Yeah, because it implies that, we don't know It's weird because people are like, that's a paradox. Because, no, we don't know how Seuss or if he would have gotten the job at the Mystery Shack in the first place. But we know that now in this current timeline, the reason Seuss is working at the Mystery Shack is because of the twins. And
well, no, I mean, the thing is, I'm okay with, here's the thing. I like to look at the way Doctor Who, at least at one point, looked at time, where it's not that you can go back into the past and change anything. It's the idea that if you and I had cool Bill and Ted adventures right now, Satish, in the past, anything that we do wouldn't influence the future in a way that wouldn't already happen. You know? Unless, yes, maybe we could have gone nuts and I'm going to shoot a president at the time, right? But all of a sudden the bullet ricochets or something and ends up hitting someone that actually died on that day by a stray bullet.
I see what you're saying. So it's like a fate thing, where it's like Seuss was meant to work at the Mystery Shack. So whether the twins caused it or someone else caused it, No. The twins were always meant to cause it. There is no reality. Okay. There is no time. Yes. There is no time. Okay, I get it. You're referring to the twins causing it. That in any given reality, the twins are the reason for him working at the Mystery Shack. However, it may be different in another timeline. Just they're causing that as well.
Yeah, maybe another reality. But in other words, we go back in time and have cool Bill and Ted adventures. We accidentally killed that person. That's the way it always was going to go down. There was never a point that we weren't going to have fun Bill and Ted adventures. You see. Because, I mean, you look at Mabel and Dipper and what happened there. They were always going to be in this situation. It isn't as if, and hey, you know, I think that's just how I am, a fan of that kind of theory, not so much the Dragon Ball Z thing, where you go back in time and you cause alternate timelines. Or, of course, Back to the Future. Well, Back to the Future, not a big fan of that, idea of time travel. But anyway, we're actually at the end of our show, sadly.
We didn't even talk about anything.
We really
did. That hour just
That's
breezed by.
No, we really talked about a lot more than you think. But before we end it all and I start talking and promoting us, I would like to mention, before you get your wish, what fate do you decide for the loser? Yes!
That made me laugh so much. Just, Mabel! Sorry, I got carried away. I smiled because I thought, 5 seconds more, and Mabel would have murdered a man that she wanted to give pretty hair to.
Yeah, at one point. But again, they're also so nice, as in they know that, it's just this is what they do for him.
Death!
But anyway, so thank you guys for listening to those guys. We have ourselves a few different areas where you can follow our shows. Now, what shows have we done? Well, we've done WWE, as we've mentioned. We've done Dragon Ball Z. We've done Bleach. Obviously, Gravity Falls, Steven Universe, Gotham, Doctor Who, Arrow, and Flash, and Mike Tyson Mysteries,
and Black Dynamite.
And many more. And Black Dynamite. So where can you find these? Well, our Tumblr, thoseguysontheradio.tumblr.com, our Facebook /thoseguysontheradio, our Twitter @thoseguysradio. Current name is Hillbilly Jim, Wrestling Joke. Also our Gmail, which you could email us at thoseguysontheradio@gmail.com, where you can send us either show suggestions or we can promote your legal product or your legal company on our show if you just message us there and we'll work something out. Also, we have ourselves an Instagram now, which is just Those Guys on the Radio. You can also follow us there, and we'll update you with nice, fun pictures with links to our shows. So again, thank you guys for listening to Those Guys.